Side Chat. It's great to see you all. Thank you for joining us. Today, I'm going to be joined by kickboxing Muay Thai super talent, UFC standout, globally renowned striking coach. There's many labels to this person that I could give, but it's of course Duane Ludwig. Duane, how are you?
Doing good, sir. Thank you for having me on. It's a privilege and an honor to be able to share martial arts with the world. So I appreciate the time on your show to hopefully educate some people on my perception of martial arts.
It's absolutely amazing and an absolute honor to have you on. It's sometimes difficult to know where to start with someone who's had such a extensive career and background in martial arts yourself. But I guess a good place, and again, this is for anyone listening or watching this live stream. This is the first time that we've actually spoken in person. So
Yes, sir.
it's kind of a. I have lots of personal questions myself. I'm like, oh, I'd really like to know the answer to this. But
Yeah.
let's get started. Then, how did you first find martial arts, and how did you start training?
I think my first inspiration came from the movie screen as far as Bruce Lee and the Rocky movies and so on. So, everyone wanted to be a ninja when they were a kid. And then obviously the Ninja Turtles and all the fight movies and such, and Steven Seagal and Van Damme. Uh, and just started searching martial arts in my area. And I was lucky enough to come across Contra Nanomiya, who was running Ashihara at the time. And and still is, he's still teaching at the same facility. It was just close by my house at the time and joined there. And now it's called Inshin, but he was under Ashihara, who was under Masuyama. And they came from the Kyokushin background. And I trained there for a while when I was 8 years old. Um, and then took a break from martial arts and then jumped back into it when I was 15. And then from 15 on, I've just been going full bore. And at that point, I crossed paths with a traditional Muay Thai instructor named James Tigret, and he got me a good solid foundation. And I spent about 2 or 3 years with him before he moved back to Texas. Spent a couple of years on my own figuring stuff out, and then came across Sensei Boss Rutan. I've always known of him, but he came to Colorado and started doing his own mixed martial arts shows in our school. We had a big gymnastics school that I was teaching out of. So martial arts found me through the movies. I found martial arts through the movies, I guess, and then started researching what I should and shouldn't be doing. And the quest is never ending. Can
So
you hear the beeps in my when I get these emails?
I can actually.
Sorry, I'm not sure how to shut those off.
Oh, it's all right. This is the technology. It's always the way. Yeah, it's just notifications. That don't worry too much.
How about you and your martial art journey? What's your background and
Well,
around?
funnily enough, it's not too dissimilar in terms of styles actually. Like I originally started off with karate, not Kokushin, more of a kind of traditional style, like Wadaru, Shotokan in the UK, and then kind of it moved over to kickboxing. I lived in Holland when I was 17. I moved over there. So the Dutch style is something that's influenced me since I was younger as well. So it's funny. It's like that kind of karate
Yeah.
into kickboxing into Muay Thai. That's why I always really like your style of fighting, your style of coaching, because I feel like I have a real kinship to it,
Mm,
given
yes,
the
sir.
stylistic backgrounds. And
Mhm.
obviously for you as well, you've put it on such a global stage, in
Mm,
multiple different promotions and platforms. So, it's really, you've been quite a beacon to show how the striking can evolve and how it
mm,
evolved with the evolution of mixed martial arts as well. You
yes,
took
sir.
you took that elite level striking from a striking only background and brought it into the octagon, the cage, however you wanted to kind of describe it. I mean, Baz Rutten. I mean, there's a name straight away. That again, it's really strange. I've been going to Holland since I was little, and I've never met Baz Rutten. I've never met him.
Uh,
And yet I've been to so many of the gyms in Holland. I lived there. I went to night school learning Dutch. I know a lot of the Dutch coaches and fighters, but for some reason we have just never crossed paths. But he always seems like a really inspirational individual. A lot of really good energy. Obviously, a phenomenal background in the martial arts and the fighting sports. I mean, it's crazy, really, to have such a an amazing person as your coach. I mean, that must have been such a brilliant foundation.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I've been blessed to have solid coaches from the start. From Contra Nanomiya, he was Shihan at the time, but he's legit pure Japanese karate. And then of course James Tigert, who's late great James Tigert, for as far as traditional Muay Thai, and he was a real caring, passionate instructor. And then Sensei Boss Rutan, obviously phenomenal martial artist, competitor, and coach, and the psychology that he's taught me of how to prepare mentally for a martial art competition is what really stuck out to me. And then Coach Trevor Whitman as well. So, and also Clarence Thatch. So I have 5 solid instructors that have quality, passionate, caring instructors that have competed and have transferred their knowledge into the actual coaching aspect. So, I didn't come across too many McDojo scenarios in my martial upbringing for whatever reason. I crossed paths with solid, legit martial artists. And I guess to call them solid, legit martial artists, to me, it's an honor. And I guess we could break down what a martial artist is. If you don't mind me asking, how would you define the term martial artist?
Ooh, that's a big question to throw at me so early on in the podcast. Ooh, that is a tough one. I guess it's someone who who uses a codified practice or a codified system theology to better themselves physically and mentally. And they use the contact of combat sports to aid that growth.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we're in a different period of time to historical figures in martial arts, so I guess that definition kind of changes over the years, doesn't it? I guess I'm speaking at it from more of a modern sense,
Mm-hmm.
but that resistance element to it
Mm-hmm.
nowadays, where we don't talk so much about having to stop ourselves being killed in armed combat. It's
Yep.
the context of how are we making sure that what we do is effective, and that for some people is rolling, grappling, sparring, and then obviously the higher level is testing this out in a competitive environment, with our peers, in rule sets that allow us to engage to the fullest that we can. I guess that's a bit of a
Mm-hmm.
long-winded definition, so I
No, it's
apologize.
okay. Yeah, it's good. It's how I always like to ask that question to fellow martial artists and see what their perception is. It's just everyone's perception, right? How we choose to view things and then to regurgitate it to the world physically and obviously articulating it as well. Uh, but yeah, so as far as I used to think a martial artist was someone who's a world champion killer that could, fight the best people. But over the years, as I feel like matured, maybe I don't know if it's maturity or not, but I hope so. I feel a martial artist is someone that's going to be an accountable human being that's going to do the right thing and lead by example to help other people better their lives. So over the years, I found the term martial arts to be broader and broader as I look throughout the world and seeing everyone's dealing with their own struggles, but they're still pushing through that and hopefully pursuing to become a better version of themselves and then to spread that message. Martial, war, art, I feel the definition of art is the expression of the human soul. And if you want to express it, the martial art path. And then what is that goal of that is to hopefully become the best version of yourselves. Many ways to cultivate the spirit. Obviously, competition is one of them. Being able to train it's the, would you say, the intangible elements to become a champion is where the value is as far as honor, respect, discipline. Would you say, well, all those terms, right? Those things help one cultivate, whether it's even Tai Chi or yoga, you still have to shut the rest of the world off and dedicate some time for yourself to hopefully improve yourself. So that's why I've brought my definition of martial artist from not just a competitor, but to someone who's going to take the time out of the day to set an hour or so to become a better version and hopefully share that message with somebody else. Which is why, again, I appreciate these podcasts and interviews to hopefully share and reflect some of the things I've learned over the years. It's not about kitchen, punching and kicking. It's about the mental and spiritual growth as well. And it's taken a while to figure that out. And I'm still figuring it out. I think I am anyway. So, but again, thank you for answering that question. I like to hear the definitions from other martial artists that I respect. So thank you for that.
No, no, it's a really good question to ask actually, because like you said, a lot of it does depend. Your answer depends on your background, where you are now, and
Mm-hmm.
where you are on that journey, doesn't it? Because if you'd have asked me that 20 years ago, my answer probably would
Yeah.
have been very different to what it is now. And it's a
It's,
bit similar to what you said. You go through again, stages, maturity. When you're younger, everything's about competition, everything's about the physicality of training, and then you start to see that that's not the case. Well, it's not the only thing, obviously, and not only is it not the only thing, but it's not the main thing. That's something that I feel is hard to digest when you're younger. It's like separating that as
Yeah.
being, this is the main thing. Again, for yourself, competing at that high level, you've got to sacrifice a lot. You've got to put your training first. So there is a certain element of when you compete in at elite level, or competing at any level, to be fair, but the more so when you're competing at higher and higher level is that has to take priority, doesn't it? And both physically and mentally over a lot of things. So sometimes I guess you have to move away from that to start to see, what else the martial arts world kind of holds for you.
Yeah, you don't see where you're at to step out of the
Yeah,
way, right?
yeah,
It's what Jesus say in the Bible. A prophet has no honor in his own home or his own country. So you don't really see where you're at until you leave it. And so it goes back to the term of you don't know what you have until it's gone, and you just can't see the world you're in until you step outside of it and look from the outside in. See how the perspectives change over the years for sure. And it's been a fun and exciting journey now to be able to share what I feel I understand with the next generation is always nice, but that's not just the competitive aspect, but 30, 40, 50-year-old men coming in and shutting off their career outside and bound in the dojo and on the mat and use that time to activate their discipline and hopefully become a little bit better and help a fellow student and so on. That's why in my school we have ranking and levels, and it's just to show that once you go white, yellow, orange, blue, once you become a blue belt, is part of your duty and obligation to look back now and build up the whites, build up the yellows, build up the oranges, and if you can properly do that, then it shows that you've acquired enough discipline and perspective of martial arts to obtain the knowledge and now share it, which goes back to the term sensei, which means from those who've come before you, a history teacher, right? So you got to be able to be selfish, get enough knowledge to pay it forward. And that's why we're here today.
Well, I'm looking through. Obviously, we're a live stream, so there's a lot of chat coming through now. I'll just read out a couple of them. Duane was the reason I got into kickboxing. Still a champ and a champ of a fella. Bang Thai baby. Been a fan of Duane for too long. Glad YouTube sent me a notification for this. Anybody who challenges their mind, body, and soul through combat or combat training is a martial artist. Bang Muay Thai all day. So lots of positive messages
I
straight
like
away.
it.
And
That's
again,
my goal. That's my goal is to be a positive light into the world, right? And to use my years of knowledge to hopefully help other people become better. So it's nice to see the positive feedback. I appreciate that, gentlemen, ladies as well, maybe. So thank you
yeah.
very much.
Well, the this is the thing, isn't it? It's you give out into the world and you get back, don't you? And as a fighter and as a martial artist in the start, it's a lot about taking. You're learning, you're absorbing, you take from martial arts, and now you've been a coach, and now you've been, involved in it for so long. I guess all that you're giving out is now returning to you in one way or another.
Yes,
Um,
sir. Yeah, the golden rule: do unto others as you want done unto you.
I'm gonna.
And that happens when people spar and fight. How many times does this happen? You leg kick somebody, what do? Leg kick you back. So it's like a prime example of what goes on. Monkey see, monkey do. So the golden rule, yeah, that's true.
Well, I'm just gonna, for anyone watching this live stream, I'm just gonna play this
Um,
in the background now. This little highlight reel for anyone who's just listening to this, and not able to take advantage of the video. I do apologize, but this is Duane's highlight reel. This is your YouTube channel, isn't it? It's Bang Muay Thai. This is on.
yes, sir. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a good editor, right? So it works out. There's Coach Trevor. Coach Trevor's awesome. He's literally a master, in my opinion, of martial arts and breaking down things. He knows how to connect with the athlete. I've learned a lot from him. He's helping me grow as a competitor, but then I look up to him as a coach because he's one of the best ever, in my opinion. I've been around quite a few places, and he understands martial arts on another level I've never seen anybody understand it on.
Well, I'm going back to some of the questions that I've been collecting. I'll just kind of throw a couple out at you now, just because there's been quite a few. So you've always, I think we kind of touched upon this. You've always been influenced by the Dutch kickboxing style, but
Yes,
obviously
sir.
you mentioned again starting in Kokushin and obviously as a
Mhm.
striker you fought in Japan. Uh,
So,
how important are the traditional aspects of martial arts to you in terms of respect and courtesy? And obviously,
ah,
you bow. I see you bow a lot more than most in terms of
the
prior
martial
to
artist
training.
first.
Yeah,
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
that's okay. No,
Um,
I was just throwing that on at the end. Actually, that that's something I do see from you quite a lot. Is that still trying to keep that traditional or that traditionally seen aspect of martial arts, even within the modern world of combat sports?
mhm. Well, it's again, it's the intangible skills that it takes for one to become the highest level martial artist or competitor. Again, honor, respect, discipline. That's what helped me become who I am. Being able to have my instructor when I was 8 years old, ask me to bow on the mat and understand the importance of that is to empty your cup and show respect. And when you start doing that and being grateful and having gratitude and having more of a positive mindset and realize that there's more to the world than just you, then that's when I started learning how to grow. And it's it's not always the best light of martial artists the way mixed martial artists is today, as far as the constant trash talking and pushing and the social media aspect of just using their light to bring somebody else down, but it's just to sell tickets, obviously, for the most part. But I prefer for martial artists to hold a bit more respectable level. Like St. Pierre was a great example of a martial artist in mixed martial arts who did it, I can't say right, but the way that I like to see things done, a bit more respectful. I mean, look at the world today, like how crazy things get. If people lose that faith in themselves and in others and their fellow man, if they can't respect themselves or another man, things start going downhill pretty fast. And I think we're seeing a lot of that now with how things have happened in the U.S. and just really all over the world, the political scene of things. I think people are just, I feel martial arts helps everybody become a better version of themselves. If more people could train, they become more aware of themselves and hopefully more respected of themselves and be able to push and share that forward. But I don't bow on the mat because someone's watching me. I do it because I feel it's what I'm supposed to be doing. It's an honor and a privilege for me to be able to step on the mats and train and not have to go work a regular job. Nothing wrong with working a regular jobs. People have different passions and stuff, but I'm a blessed individual. I'm very grateful to be able to bow on the mat and practice martial arts for myself and my students and make videos for the world. We're on the good side of change. So that's why I respect you doing this podcast and your Warrior Collective brand and sharing martial arts. So hopefully, again, help people become a better version of themselves. More people need to do this, especially I feel more fighters who have the light, a fan base. They're pushing some freaking crap protein on their Instagram rather than hopefully sharing a positive message, right? But either way, to each its own. I'm going to choose to share more of a positive light as much as I can.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree with you more.
So
I
a little
think
bit tangent rant.
I don't know if the camera's drifted a bit. Can you tilt your screen a bit further down? You've gone a bit further down on my screen. That's it. I don't know what happened. For some reason, it just seemed to drift
Yeah,
to the
maybe.
bottom. But yeah, no, I think one of the problems I think for some people is when mixed martial arts came along and the testing of certain martial arts styles started to show what did work and what didn't work, is there was a bit of a shift away from traditional martial arts to the point that
Yeah,
traditional martial arts were seen as that's fake, it's a sham, we shouldn't bow, we shouldn't do this, and actually they kind of lost the point of some of the things like you've just described, why they were doing that in the first place, which was character building values. It didn't really have anything to do with the legitimacy of the martial art. That's down to the coach, the style, the club. It was to do with, well, who are you trying to what's the kind of student you're trying to make? What like you said, what influence are you having in the world? I mean, is that something you see? Is like when you start kind of using some of the more traditional aspects of martial arts, do you get that kind of look from some people or
no, I don't notice. I'm too busy focusing on myself, right? So I'm not sure. I'm not, balancing who's watching me do this, right? It's just something I've been doing since I was 8 years old. Just continue to do it. I feel it was important. Fighting, competing itself taught me a lot. It taught me about goal setting and planning. You got to be, you have an opponent, you have a date, you have a weight. If you just change those three things out to, I want to open this business. I need to set a date. I need to do this work in order to do that. So I was able to switch things out from the competitive aspect. But in order to do any of those things, I had to look within and then again activate my discipline to make sure that I'm, not, whatever it may be, going out to a movie at night or drinking or something, and I'm actually going to the dojo or to the gym to train. It's having that discipline to say yes or no, or to push that plate away and to, maybe drink a water rather than, a soda. It's that internal discipline in that respect. Again, for oneself and for all the people who've built me up over the years, I'm at the point now where I feel it would be disingenuous to all my previous students and instructors and all the promotions that have invested time and money into me to now be at this point and then go work a regular job. Like, that wouldn't be a good example of a martial artist. So I continue to be in the martial arts to share the message of, again, the main thing is, discipline and doing others as you want done unto you, to be a good, respectful person to hopefully make this world a better place and be on the good side of change. So I feel a traditional martial artist with today's modern training methods, and that's pretty true. And going back to the fake, wushu karate stuff, and not even just karate. I don't put a bad taste on the karate term, but the people who bastardized it over the years for a profit, for whatever it may be, they just didn't have the right perception. Like, mixed martial arts wasn't around at the time to really pick and choose what was correct and what wasn't. People were just doing whatever they thought was right at the time. I don't think that too many people are sharing martial arts to solely make money. I think they're trying to do their best, whether it be a Taekwondo school with 50 kids or a karate school with 100 kids, wherever it may be. They're trying to do their best. But mixed martial arts gave us the platform of research and development to see what actually worked, but it just got pulled into the light of actual competition and lost the respect aspect. And now we know what works. So let's train that stuff safe and effectively. Let's show up on time. Let's get better. Let's get tired. Let's take care of our partner. All those things require, again, discipline. So it's our duty and obligation to pay it forward now. Again, the skills I've learned down on the mat as a karate student, those same skills help me be the man I am today. And I'm somewhat happy of who I am today, right? Can't always be too stuck in the run, too high on yourself. There's always room for improvement. I feel I'm operating on about an 80% frequency. Yeah, using this time to become a better version is the actual goal. And again, all those. Well, let me ask you this: someone who may be, let's say, be facetious and an alcoholic, and why are they picking up that drink? What might be the reason for that? They might have some empty void in their soul. I think sometimes that might just be they don't have a purpose in life. And if you have yourself a purpose in life and have some core values to live by of faith, integrity, respect, excellence, holding yourself accountable to become a better version, and knowing that there's a light at the end of the tunnel and a goal in mind. We're goal oriented since we're kids. It's I'm not sure exactly how it's labeled in England, but here in the States, it's elementary, middle school, high school, college. Life's already laid out for you for the most part, as far as programmed into people, and we're goal set to go to the next thing. And here in the States, you become 15, you get a driver's permit, 16, you can get a license, and then everything's laid out for you in layers to keep us pushing forward and hopefully keeping the species growing and on the planet, right? So having that same thing in mind, giving people goals, and is great if they can actually achieve them and break them down to smaller goals. But again, that all just goes back to discipline. So show up on time, get better, get tired, take care of your partner. Those 4 things are what's needed for almost any aspect in life. And a little bit of a tant and a ranja, sorry, but just letting the brain flow a little bit, and hopefully, again, letting people know that there's more to just punching and kicking, but the development and the cultivation of your soul.
Oh no, I couldn't agree more. I think that's the key, isn't it? Is the physical aspects of training are really just the kind of the tool to develop the things that you've mentioned, your internal dialogue, your mental strength, give yourself goals like you've mentioned.
Do you have your own school?
You're sorry?
Do you have your own martial arts school?
Yeah, I've got a full-time gym, yeah.
Nice. Can you break some? How long have you had it now?
I opened up my first full-time gym in 2009. So that was the that was the first time I opened one. And then so I've probably been coaching on and off since I was about 15, 16. Like most people, you start helping coach as a teenager when you've grown up in the gym, and I didn't get paid for it. I was just volunteering, taking sparring sessions, helping people learn, and it grew from there. Funnily enough, actually, that kind of brings me to the question that I was going to ask you is, given that you had such this amazing competitive career, was the plan always to become a coach? Was that always your end game?
Yeah, I was lucky. I always knew when I was a child what I was going to be. I was going to be a world champion and have my own school. I know it's important not to set your sights too low, I guess. Uh, but Marisha said multiple schools and maybe certain sizes and be able to impact a certain amount of lives. But yeah, I've known since I was a kid what I was going to do. I just felt it in my soul for whatever reason. Maybe super influenced by the movies, but I always knew I wanted to be a martial art competitor, champion, and then have my own school. It was in the blood, in the DNA. It's from the code from God. It was like, here you go. This is your path. This is your way. You can help my people, our people, is through martial arts. So get it down.
I mean, back in the day, again, when you first started that shift, from went from competing to coaching, and you had that period of time where you took over as striking coach for Team Alpha Male, and there's a lot of people at the time that gave, you the credit for, that upsurge in their striking successes, that development of their game. As a coach, then, well, as a striker, as a pure striker, well, not pure striker, but as someone who came from such a strong striking background, and you were suddenly working with these different athletes, what were the first things that you changed or wanted to develop, with the system that you had in mind that you were going to bring to the table?
So the Bang Muay Thai system, that's all. It's bosses. Sensei Boss system. He's the first one that I've come across that would name and number a combination. So like 3 is jab cross hook. 3 is not just the hook, right? So I was able to pigtail off of that and just be able to condense typical scenarios that take place or certain patterns in martial arts. Because we start chunking them together and we can chunk things, you start understanding them better. At least I do. And it wasn't to just take the alpha male team and make them strikers. What I did is what I feel most instructors and parents should do is meet their student at the level and then build them up. So I can't say, here, do this, this, and this when he's still down here at this level, or he's at a high level and I'm having to do something that maybe is not necessarily beyond, because you can never be beyond the basics. But I was just able to adapt to the athlete, meet them at their level, and build them up. And there was one author, Reed Kuhn. He made a book called Fightnomics, and that Fightnomics is a really cool book. So he was able to distinguish the 5 main submissions in MMA: rear naked choke, guillotine, armbar, arm triangle, and then the triangle. Those are the top 5 submissions in MMA. But he also did a study on alpha male guys as far as their success. And when we worked together, their striking only didn't get better, but their takedown defense got better. Their takedowns got better. Their amount of knockdowns that they received went down. The amount of knockdowns that they gave went up. So all the categories went in the positive direction. They got hit less and they hit more. They took more people down than they got taken down. So in every aspect, they got better. And that just came from me. I shouldn't say from me, they already had a great work ethic from being wrestlers and a great team camaraderie already there. They just allowed me to step on the mat and help guide them in a better direction and holding them accountable. They used to show up whenever they kind of wanted and do whatever they wanted. I just brought some structure, and that structure and organization came from my understanding of karate from the beginning when I was 8 years old. If you're going to do something, do it. Obviously, Boss's concepts really helped a lot. And one thing that I got from Sensei Boss Rutan and Trevor Whitman, those two specifically, have always met me and found what I was good at and watered that. So again, what I did with the alpha male guys is what Sensei Boss and Trevor did with me. They showed me what I was good at, because you're never quite sure of who you are and what you are until somebody else tells you or shows you. You're like, oh yeah, I am good at that. And I can do this. You're right. And that's one thing that Sensei Boss did. He taught me to believe. So I was able to share their messages with the alpha male guys. And again, was able to point out what they're good at and ask them to do it more. You're good at the double leg. How about do that a little bit more? You like your left hook. Let's get to that double leg off your left hook. So just being able to recognize the qualities of someone and water that area. So it was a blessed time in martial art history and in my career and my journey to have the opportunity to work with those guys. So I'm so very thankful for that.
I mean, you mentioned obviously Bang Muay Thai, the system, and I'm just gonna flip the screen again. Um, how I mean, obviously you're speaking about Sensei Basruttin as being the you know the precursors,
My
but
main influence. Yeah.
how did this system come about then? How did it come into creation?
Uh, However, he's the first person that again I knew that would chunk combinations like Customato. He would number each individual punch, which obviously master coach. But then Sensei Boss was just point gave me the idea to chunk things, and I just continued that path, and then I was able to understand. I'm a martial art nerd. Like, fighting was very scary for me, so I want to make sure I understood it as much as I could. So I'd watch everything, read everything that I could, and just am a fan of the game. And I love martial arts in and out, and has been able to uh, hopefully I think understand it and not have too many barriers and realize that I'm not going to be stuck to a style or this or that. And that's another thing that I got from Coach Trevor and Sensei Boss and Contra Nanomiya too is not being fluid in one stance, but both stances, and then come to find out there's no stance. So uh, it's just doing what's effective and following that path, and then again to chunk things together. Let me ask you this: what is one of the most common main combinations in kickboxing? What would you say?
One of the main combinations, I guess smaller ones would be jab, right low kick, or left hook, right body kick, right cross, left body kick, jab
There's the
cross.
basics.
Yeah.
There you go. There's the basics, right? So there's your foundation. Assuming the individual is already balanced and has a little bit of coordination, you can always work on the balance and work on the coordination. Now that you have a little bit good understanding of your body, let me show you some basics. Here's the hook low kick. And that works because why? This and that. So it's just chunking things together and educating people and pointing out the highlights of the things. So um, again, been blessed to be able to discover the typical patterns in martial arts and share them with the world. So I like to take credit for a lot of things, but it's just a natural, I guess, ability to, I don't know what it is, like you see good, like, well, that combination worked. Do that a couple more times. How does that feel? All right, let's track that one down. You like that, and here it is. So it goes back to the Reed Kuhn in the Fightnomics book where he figured out the five main submissions and the five main not the five main. There's the five main submissions. There's three takedowns, um, and then he broke down that the jab is the most used punch in MMA. These are MMA statistics, and then they didn't say cross or overhand. They just said the rear power punch because they weren't quite sure how to distinguish that. So once you start looking back as far as how a human operates in a combative scenario, and then pulling out those patterns, and then using that data to, if you have 10 common things that take place and four of them are good for this individual, then he needs to double down on those four things. Just pretty simple. I'd like to take a lot of credit for myself, but it's just stuff that is, pointing out natural tendencies and patterns in life.
And
That's all the system is about. Sorry.
that's okay. So let's say, for example, you were that freelance coach again. You were going to different gyms. I mean, and again, this will be from your experience as a gym owner now as well as a coach, is what do you see the kind of like five, 3 to 5 main issues that most people need correcting, when it comes to striking, kickboxing, whether that's for MMA or pure striking?
If it's MMA, I would like to see a bit more fluidity and not as so much of like a traditional Thai boxing stance where you're somewhat heavy on the back foot, tapping the lead foot. You don't have a bunch of footwork options there, and you're kind of stationary, which has its pros and cons, like everything does. I prefer a more fluid concept, like Bruce Lee would express, to be if a fluid to be like water, right, and not to be stuck in the traditional patterns. Obviously, there's gold within those traditional patterns, but not to be married to that, but to just be able to realize the main objective of to hit and not get hit. And if you're stationary, well, you're a target. If you move, now you're harder to hit. As long as you use that movement and that kinetic energy for your own offense and defense, then you'll be one step ahead. So that's why I've gravitated towards the Dutch style. And are you familiar with the martial art evolution as far as the traditional Thai boxers in Thailand, and then Kyokushin karate turning into Seido, which would be Japanese kickboxing, and then morphing that into Dutch kickboxing, and then bring those evolutions back to adding more footwork and more understanding for the MMA aspect. So that's the way I choose to. And then you said you did Shotokan. You know what Shotokan means?
Um, Off the top of my head, I actually don't. It was that I have to say I didn't do that for very long. That's just when I was like
Mm-hmm.
7 or 8, I started in a traditional style, and literally all I can remember of that time is being in a white gi in a school
Yeah.
hall, blocking up and down the hallway. That's pretty much,
Yeah.
yeah.
See
Do
how
do
much that was
yeah,
fun, right?
yeah,
I still throw combinations in the grocery store and make
yeah.
sure the technique is clean and tight. But the Shotokan, Shoto means pine, a pine tree, and the kan means building, or it means a building in Japanese, right? So apparently, Kichi Funakoshi, who is the one credited for bringing karate from Okinawa to mainland Japan, apparently he was walking through a path of pine trees to get to the building to teach his students karate. So his students actually named it Shotokan because it came through a path of pine trees. Shoto, the kan is again the building, right? So his students actually named the art, and then one of his students, Masuyama, he was focused more on forms and technique, not so much competition, because it was looked down upon in Japan at the time anyway to have physical competitions. But one of his students, Masuyama, wanted to fight. He wanted to compete. He wanted to extract that soul and that competitive spirit. So he coined and termed it Kyokushin. You know what Kyokushin means?
I don't actually. I know of Kokushin, I know of Masayami, but I actually don't know what Kyokushin means.
It just means the ultimate truth. So he felt there was more of an honorable, truthful path rather than just doing katas and forms, which is more based on the Shotokan style. But he wanted to have actual competition, but with that competitive spirit in mind, he was pushing that Japanese karate. Kyokushin was the best, so he wanted to actually put that to the test. So he started having some of his guys fight Thai fighters, and then they realized Thai fighters could box, and that left a hole in the karate game because they didn't know how to box and punch to the head. So they were getting some win, some loss, but that was his research and development. That was his laboratory to start adding more boxing, now more footwork. So then that was hence the evolution from karate to Seido. Seido means the new way, the new path, because it wasn't just the traditional either Shotokan or Kyokushin. It was now Japanese kickboxing termed Seido. Uh, and then that morphed into the Dutch kickboxing when John Blooming got stationed over in Korea and then got hurt and was sent to Japan in a hospital. And he started training with Masuyama, and then Masuyama, his student Kenji Kurosaka, was one who actually helped start to evolve the Japanese karate into actual kickboxing. And John Blooming had some of that, brought it back to Holland. One of his students was John Plaz. Do you know John Plaz?
Yes.
He's started, right. So then he was apparently sent back to Majuro, Tokyo, Majuro, Japan, and learned from Kenji Kurosaka, and then brought that back to Holland, hence Majuro Gym. Majuro is actually a town, a district, a little town in Japan. So that's what Majuro comes from, Majuro Gym. And then the, Shotokan to Kyokushin to Seido to Dutch kickboxing, and just kept morphing and changing. So there's part of the evolution and the history and the terminology and what those names mean. That stuff's important to me. Is that goes back to, again, the traditional aspect of knowing where we came from and not to lose the why everyone got better is because, well, they had a goal in mind, is to evolve and to prove that their style was the best, which is needed for competition to find out what actually works, and then to hopefully share that. But in order to take the time of yourself to figure something out and to do science and research, that takes what? Discipline, and again, a goal, and then hopefully dates in place and a good positive, collective group alongside. So you can't practice martial arts alone. I mean, you can, but to actually get feedback and to grow, you need another human being. So yeah, we're all in this together. Sorry, another little tangent, but I like to share martial arts, and I like the history of it all, and to know where we came from and stuff. So that stuff's fun for me. I'm a little martial art nerd.
No, no, I'm familiar with part of it. I mean, I actually I filmed a Dutch kickboxing documentary about 4 or 5 years ago.
Oh,
It might
cool.
be 6 years ago, and
Oh, tell me about it.
so well, it's actually on YouTube. It's there for. So I visited a lot of the Dutch gyms like Madeiro with Andre Manat and Vos Gym, and
Yeah,
so I spoke to them all about their
the history.
coaches, yeah, and so the actual Japanese kickboxing transition to Dutch kickboxing, I actually know quite a bit about because I spent quite a lot of time in Holland. speaking to them about it. You might find that documentary quite interesting because
What's it called?
it's called We Bring the Fight. It's a Dutch kickboxing documentary. Um, and it's on my YouTube channel, but I put that together about 5-6 years ago. So I spoke to as many different gyms as I could. So you've got the more older school ones, in terms of Majiro, Voss. I spoke to Core Hemmers.
Takariki.
Yeah, well,
Correct.
Chakariki was one I didn't speak to because he wasn't
Oh,
in
really?
he
Mark.
wasn't
Wow.
only because he wasn't in the country when I was filming. He was in
Oh,
Brazil. So I didn't have the budget to go to Brazil to go and speak to him. So I had to make do with what I could find in Holland. So I was speaking to like Core Hemmers, Ivan Hippolyte,
mhm.
Andre Manat, just different people that who both have a history, and then obviously
Yes.
the newer sort of breed, if you would, the Dutch Moroccan community, and the evolution of the old style Dutch into the new style Dutch kickboxing as it's progressing today. So yeah, I love all that as well. I didn't actually know as much as you do about the Japanese side of it, but like I said, I
That's where it came from.
because of my kind of time spent in Holland, that was
Mhm.
where I wanted to kind of focus that particular kind of
So,
documentary, if you would. And again, it was something that I did because it was interesting to me, and I wanted to bring
mhm.
some attention to how great the Dutch community is, at
Mhm.
kickboxing. So yeah, if you get a chance, you should have a watch.
Yeah,
I, th-
definitely
I
watch
think I
that.
think I think you'd like it.
For
I
sure.
mean, with going from that, then obviously you opened up your own gym after your
Mhm.
time at Team Alpha Male. What were your goals then, and how did you set about them when you created your gym? Because you obviously started your gym from a place of okay, you've got a lot of experience. You're gonna know what you want. Um, ha, we're on the website here for anyone watching. What did you want from your gym then?
To share martial arts, and to share martial arts the way I felt it could be shared, and to bring the traditional aspects back to high level competition. We train safe and effective drills and combinations, and I have the same goal in mind for a day one student as I do for my fighter TJ Dillashaw. It's to have them help them become better, safe, and effectively. So it's the same goals. Whether it's TJ on the mat or day one student, I want to meet them at their level and build them up and have a safe, fun, exciting, healthy class so that they can come back tomorrow without injury. So the Dutch style has been the best for me to share it with the world. It's the most practical way that I feel to train that transfers to competition. As long as it's again trained safe and effectively. I feel some people train too hard and maybe not the right intent or placement either or the right mindset sometimes. They'll get out what they put in as the rule in life, but to make sure that I remind the people. Then there's the 4 things I ask of my students, which I've mentioned before, is show up on time, get better, get tired, take care of your partner. Again, all those 4 things acquire discipline and accountability, and those are the 2 main qualities I'm trying to share with the world. Is with those things there and having goals in mind to keep you on track can help you become a better version of yourself. So that was my pursuit, is to share what I feel is my version of martial arts, my perception of martial arts, is just train at the highest level drills and combinations at a safe and effective level that everybody can work on. So again, if it's to be facetious, some overweight individual that wants to just get in shape, well, you can train the same combinations as Ramon Deckers did. Only he just had the intent to kill somebody. You have the intent to kill some calories and some fat. So it's the same goal in mind, just a different actual opponent. Which obviously Ramon Deckers probably had to lose some weight every now and then as well. But just because someone's the highest level doesn't mean that someone at the technically lower level can't train the same, again, drills and combinations that have been proven to be successful. Again, hook low kick or jab low kick, one of the most common combinations in MMA and kickboxing. Might as well teach someone who's here for self-defense or fitness the same combination because, well, it's fun, right? So I wanted to bring the traditional aspect back to the high level competition, which I don't feel I see that often, and it's important to me to hold up a more higher level, respectable presence in the martial art world. And hopefully, I'm doing that. That's my pursuit.
Oh no, definitely. I mean, I've got a friend, a good friend of mine, who's been over to your gym at least once or twice. Eddie
Oh, cool.
Eng.
Oh yeah, I love. Oh man, I love him.
Yeah, he always says nothing but good things about when he comes to visit. And he always says, "Oh, when are you going?" I was like, "Oh, dude, I haven't been over to Colorado yet, you know." But it
That'd
has
be
been
awesome.
it has been a goal of mine to come and see your gym in person. So
Please.
it's definitely on my to do list and hoping to get that done soon. But Eddie says nothing but great things about his time coming to
I love
see
that
you.
guy. Yeah, he's awesome. He's awesome. But you have your own. You have your own school. You said, and you have multiple schools.
I used to. And
Okay.
then when I started doing Warrior Collective and started to travel more, and it just I just felt like, you know, it's a bit like when you coach and you compete, your energy sometimes gets split a
Yeah.
little bit, doesn't it? And you kind of like, you don't want to be a half version of yourself for different things. So I dropped to one when I started to do more travel, and I just found that
Mhm.
logistically easier to manage. And
Sure.
again, I have family, I have children, so you
Yeah.
sometimes, you know, you
Yeah.
make things to suit your life, don't you? And that's kind of
Yes,
what I
sir.
did.
Yeah, that goes back to the question as far as like one reason why I chose to step away from the active full time coaching aspect was there was a lot of travel. There was a lot of time away from my family. And I realized I was building up individuals to compete at the highest level, which I felt I'll end up being it's my natural talent. I feel like I'm good at that, and I understand fighting, and I understand how to help someone become better. And then when I realized like that was my what I was doing, what I was good at, I was like, you know what? And the fighters would come in and out and cheer for a little bit and then be gone and so on. It was just temporary. It was short. And I'm looking back and I'm seeing my kids. They need a father. My wife, she needs a husband. So it was time to settle down for the most part and spend more time with the family and what's important for the long run and what felt more rewarding as well. Not for my own personal happiness, but I needed to make sure that I was being a good role model, not just to the world, but to my kids and my family, and my wife. So and again, I always wanted to have my own school, and I knew I was going to do that. So it just came time for me to, as hard as I felt I was working, I might as well do that for my own brand and my own family, which I already was, but just a bit more, I guess, efficient with it all for the long run because I don't want to be an employee for somebody for too long. I like to have a bit more, I guess, control and safety of my own future, and then build a brand and locations for schools for my children. Hopefully, if they want to take on in their future as well. So you're supposed to a good man's going to leave an inheritance to his children's children, and what does that take? Again, discipline. So all qualities I've learned from martial arts, read in the Bible, have heard about, but actually felt and experienced through my trials of martial arts.
Well, I agree completely, and I understand, you know, why you made that decision. Very similar to the decision that I made. Was something's got to give sometimes, isn't it? And you've got to make decisions. And as you get older, you realize you can't have that time back. You know, so there has to be a decision at some point. I mean, when I'm looking through the comments on the feed, I'm just seeing a
So,
few come through. Someone's mentioned they attended a bang seminar with you and Sensei Baz Rutten last year, and it was an amazing experience. The drills and combinations utilized economy of motion, switching stances to create angles for counters, excellent stuff. Duane, much respect from Germany. Your drills helped me and my students a lot. Um, uh, let's have a look. Yeah, so it's just again awesome starts and ends of respect. Definitely discipline, respect goals to focus on. I mean, and you mentioned actually, you know, again here, you know, having your own gym, but obviously you took it a step further, and there's not really, I guess, many people who have done what you've done and created this established sort of chain of affiliate gyms, so to speak. So you've kind of worked out a method to allow coaches who maybe didn't even train with you in the beginning to access your coaching style and adapt your concepts to coach in wherever they are in the world. And that's quite an achievement. You know, I mean, I travel all over the world, and, you know, I can very categorically say there's not many people that have achieved what you have achieved there. So that's testimony to your skill and your hard work. But how did that come about? Was that always a goal as well to have, you know, these?
accident.
Oh, it's an accident, was it?
Yeah, I was. I like to travel, do seminars, and teach and share martial arts, and it was one of my early affiliates, Wanda McDonald in upstate New York, at Empire Mixed Martial Arts. I did a seminar for him, and I go back home to Colorado, and he texts me or calls me, and he's like, "Hey, what was that drill or combination that we did again? And I was like, oh yeah, it's the Dutch drill, or it was the Holland, or whatever it was. I'm not quite sure what exactly he asked me at the time. But then I started trying to text him back what it was and like where the feet needed to be and what needed to happen. And I was like, this is crazy. It's, you're typing this much stuff. It's hard to just talk about it over the phone. So started making videos, right? And our mirror neurons. I learned so much from watching. I can watch somebody and duplicate that for the most part. So it was just being able to hopefully teach people the proper patterns, um, patterns with the technical understanding for it to be the most effective, I should say. Train it this way and that way, and then I run my classes. So I've been teaching martial arts at schools since I was 18 as well, and you did it earlier at 15. So I've been teaching for not forever, but for a long time. 18, I'm 44 now, so for a while. And it was just, again, an accident. Someone did a seminar and he asked what the drills were, and I recorded them, started sending them to him, and then he asked me some more and some more, and I was like, you know what? Why don't you just do the same workout that I'm teaching here at the headquarters? He's like, okay. And then I, film this week's workout, and I teach basically the same workout the whole week. I will change things up variously, but it'd be the same concept throughout the week, have a weekly curriculum, and then having that curriculum rotate as well every so often, so that the student that does this class this week will do that same class in 3 months from now. So you're not just showing them one thing this week and then you don't ever do it again. Like, you're going back to the basics. So it's just to have a goal in mind to make sure that I'm doing what I should be doing as an instructor, is building them up. And if you can build them up, you're gonna make more gains from predictability and patterns and structure. So if I can make the same warm up and then change up the actual general combinations and concepts of the class in the middle, and then have the same cool down, now I have a chunk of class that I can focus on, help these guys get better. Now, what are the basics of kickboxing? Well, the hook low kick, cross lead body kick. Well, how about we put those together? Hook low, cross lead body kick. And what do you do after body kick? You typically land forward. Well, what feels natural? Cross hook low kick. And what feels good after that? Hook cross high kick. So let's chunk those 4 combinations together. And so heavily inspired by the Dutch, let's call that the Dutch drill, right? So just a way to chunk things together, and again, to share it with the affiliates and other schools of what I feel is the proper high percentage combinations. Again, train safe and effectively by first you showing up on time for class and bowing on the mat, and realize that you're not doing these drills and combinations to beat up the drunk guy down the street. You're using these to hopefully become a better version of yourself. So many layers to why I feel I'm doing what I'm doing, but just I'm going in the direction I feel I should be going. That's why I feel I'm, I guess, successful. I'm very passionate, enthusiastic, because I love this. And it's, why do I love it? I think God was like, here, I'm going to have you love and learn martial arts, so you hopefully you can share it and take some BS out of the world and show what actually works for, again, a safe and effective manner.
Yeah, no, it's funny. We sound very similar in our outlooks, me and you. I don't know. I'm very much the same in my thought processes as well. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions that people have been throwing at me to ask you. So I don't want to miss this opportunity to ask these questions that people have
Sure.
given me.
Yeah.
Let's have a look. I'll just throw this up first, actually. So the first one, and I'll just put him up here actually, is obviously about TJ.
Yes, sir.
And I just turn the sound off on that. So it's just, how did you help TJ evolve his striking to the level he's at today?
Well, he's a very dedicated, disciplined, coordinated athlete, so it's very easy. Nobody has driven as TJ. I compare the way he's pursuing his career versus how I pursued mine, and man, it's drastically different. He's a very rare, different human being. So it was really easy because, again, I feel I understand the basics of kickboxing and have just been able to share that with him. And not, okay, here's the hook low kick. Okay, it's basic. You better know how to throw that, but throw it your way. And since it's so common, let's make sure that we can defend it as well. So I helped build him up the way I help build up everybody, is meet them at their level and, again, build them up. And then here's the basics of kickboxing. Do what you want with them. You can have a wide guard, but be aware that straight shots can come at you, but you can block high kicks now a bit easier. So it depends on the opponent. It's just giving them different ways to look at martial arts, right? And let them pick and choose on what they want. And as long as they're open to feedback, growth can happen. and it's again, it's me meeting them at their level. There's a proverb, there's a term in the Bible in Proverbs. It's Proverbs 22:6. It says, "Train up a child according to the way he should go, and if he gets old, he won't depart from it." So it's good habits. Hopefully, there's the Hebrew version, which predates the King James version, that says, "Train up a child according to his ways, and when he gets old, he won't depart from it." So two different perspectives. One is assuming that the instructor knows which way the child should go, and the other one is telling the instructor to adapt to the child. I feel the answer is a combination of both. Being able to highlight what they're good at and then tell them to do that a bit more. But again, sometimes people don't know what they're good at. So it's just, again, very easy with TJ, and it's very easy with a lot of people as long as they're disciplined and dedicated and are somewhat coordinated. Because I have some people that are, they're just not coordinated, and I have drills to help coordination and so on. But there seems to be, I don't know if it's a physical blockage, a mental blockage, whatever it is, but there's certain points where people they don't really technically get better. They get in better shape. They have better understanding, better perception, but their performance of the drills and combinations are just a little bit off for the lack of coordination or understanding or whatever it may be. But they still deserve the right to be there and train in a positive environment with good music and safe and effective combinations. So going back there again, TJ, very easy. I think TJ would have been champion without me. I think he got there a bit sooner and a bit more fluid and technically gifted with my help, but he would have been the champion regardless because of his drive and his commitment to how he approached it.
Yeah, I mean, TJ he's an amazing talent, isn't he?
I've never seen anything
yeah.
as committed. There's nothing else he should be doing in the world but trying to kill somebody else in the cage like that. Like, that's why he's here, for his point, for this time of it, for this chapter of his life.
So another one, and actually, I this is a new one to me because I don't think I saw it. What happened to your number one liver series? It was my favorite series on your channel. That's what someone's just asked me to.
The liver, yeah, it's still on there. I think on the YouTube channel somewhere. I just, again, attacking the liver is a good idea. And then how do you do it? We can do it off your combinations or off of their attack. I ask my students. I tell my students. I advise my students that to attack the body, whether it be cross to the gut or hook to the liver, you can do it off your setups, get them to defend. So before we hit the body, I want them committed. I want them committed to defense or committed to a strike. Either way, I want them committed for half a second. So how do we do that? Well, jab gets a guard up, there's a liver. Or they throw the cross, let's slip, hit the liver. But where the liver series go, sorry if it's off YouTube, I'm not sure. But again, chunking things together, liver series, different ways to get to the liver was my idea, my goal with putting the whole liver series together. Where to go, I'm not sure.
Well, it makes sense.
I'm not too technical. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure there's many great things, even if it has gone to replace that. And I'll do one final one that someone's asked me to ask. As a coach, when do you think children should start training in martial arts? And what about sparring and competing?
Yes, beautiful. Love these questions. A child, everyone's a little bit different, and depends on the goal of the instructor or the parent, I guess. And you don't want to, it's tricky. It's tricky to make your child go and train. I don't want them to resent it and hate it. I want them to have a good time and enjoy the journey. But I guess you as a parent should have that feeling, that tendency of when the timing is right, when they show, push for that direction, when maybe they tell you, hey, Dad, I want to train martial arts, or maybe they're not listening to you, because again, like what Jesus says, a prophet has no honor in his own country. So your kids don't listen to you sometimes. They need to listen to the same information, but from somebody else, right? You're married, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Does your wife want to take some information from someone else, even though you told her the same freaking thing, but she listens to that guy? It's like, what are you doing? Just have, But again, going back to when should a child train, when he shows, maybe if he's not listening to you, but he'll listen to somebody else, go put him in a martial arts school, as long as that martial arts school is a martial arts school, not just a fight camp. And hopefully they're holding him accountable to put on the uniform, put on the gi, make sure the belt's tied right. That's all instilling discipline to have their uniform cleaned and in order, and be able to tie it and perform it and take care of it at home and bring it to the dojo and so on. So maybe if he's getting picked on in school and needs to learn some self-defense and some conflict resolution as far as talk, tell, tackle, things like that. So the timing's right, I guess, when they ask for it, or if they're being maybe too ornery at home and you can have another set of eyes on them outside that they can, I shouldn't say respect, but they respect, other people more because they're around you too much sometimes. So I guess at those points would be a good time to have your child train. Now, going back to the question as far as it was sparring was the question, or sparring drills.
Yes.
So when I was training, I used to hit Thai pads, hit the bag, and then not spar, but fight. Like sparring was a fight. And then I was watching wrestling one time, and I was like, oh, that guy is letting that guy practice the takedown. That guy's letting that guy defend the takedown. He's role playing here. Why don't we do that with kickboxing, right? Well, how do you do that? And here comes the beauty of the Dutch drills, catching the jab on the left mitt, the cross on the right mitt from a close stance scenario. Oh, he doesn't have to just punch him in the face. He can actually practice. And now what's that guy doing? He's working defense as well. So it's like, okay, well, let's work on defense of the jab. So I know you're only going to throw the jab. Okay, so now I can calm down, not worry about an elbow, a kick, or a takedown, or a knee. I can focus on just the jab. Okay, now what's the goal of the drill? For me to defend the jab? Okay, so then that means you're going to throw it 50% nice and light, right? You're going to work with me. Same concept as wrestling. Yes, okay, well, here we go. Here comes the jab. All right, slip or parry, or duck. And there's just certain things, but as far as just not just sparring, but I come sparring drills and then just layering that up. So work on defense of the jab. Now let's counter the jab. So I'm going to slowly throw it. I'm going to let you counter it, but now don't take advantage of it. Don't blast me with an overhand or a step knee or an elbow. Take care of me. I'll take care of you. There comes the accountability aspect. So, and that goes back to what are the basic combinations, practice, executing them, practice defending them, practice countering them. So I would prefer for sparring sessions for time for them to get better and not to necessarily see who's better. So you got to make sure that the coach is leading by example and doing that and reinforcing what should be taking place during this drill. Whatever the drill may be, one guy's punching, one guy's kicking. The goal of the drill is what? To defend the kicks and counter back the punches. Okay, let's do that. So you're going to let me do that, but I'm not going to take advantage of you and vice versa. So it just takes understanding, which took me a while to figure out, and which layers to ask the student to enhance and to pull back on. That's always an evolution. But that's how the alpha male guys got better, and they've already had great camaraderie, great teamwork, great work ethic. They know how to be a good student and train and get better. I just changed the drills from a takedown to a striking combination that led to a takedown, or vice versa, right? So sparring drills are important. That's one area I feel I excel at, is understanding the chaos of the fight and breaking it down so the average individual can understand it. And was there a third part? Was the third question to that, I thought?
Yeah, I think it was sparring and competing was on the same thing, really. And it's interesting because it brings me on to a different question. And obviously, because, you're influenced by the Dutch style, so am I. I lived in Holland for quite a while. Where do you stand on the kind of need for hard sparring? How does sparring fit into your framework for, let's say you've got a fighter who's maybe in a fight camp, or maybe even someone who's going for their first fight? Where does sparring fit into that, and how hard do you limit they go? Because obviously you know what Holland's like. There are some gyms where sparring's crazy.
I think they go too hard. Yeah, I think they go too hard. Injuries happen. That's what I found. In the camps that I've had them spar hard, injuries happen. So what's the goal? It's for them to get better and to train safe and effectively. They got to train tomorrow. They got the fight in a month, so they can't get injured. So what do? You have to dedicate the role and establish the handicap. Dedicating the role is this guy needs to work on his takedowns. He's going to get the takedowns off this guy's punches. So just dedicating the role and the handicap. The handicap is you're going to punch 50% nice and light, which goes back to sparring drills aspect and knowing where to push and where to restrict. I have my guys like with Dutch drilling. So we're working like maybe hook low kick or jab low kick. We're going to start the drill off with that today. But if your partner is getting too wide on the hook, let them know. Keep them tight and honest. We're both here to get better. And if you're letting him know what he's doing right and wrong, that shows that you understand the correct patterns. Now, with that being said, when you can register someone trying to hit you, even though you're catching the hook here and you're catching low kick on the thigh, you're not punching in the face. You have time to break them down. You're also building what I call the counter eye. to look for the openings before, during, and or after the execution of that combination or that technique. And I felt it to be a bit more calming if I can realize the guy's not punching me in my face, he's aiming for the mitt. So I have time to react and to break this down. And now all I need to do is transfer that knowledge to sparring or to an actual fight. Because now I can see the hook coming. Now it's not coming for just my mitt, it's coming for my face. So he's got to reach a little bit more now, another 6-8 inches. So it's giving me time to intercept or to pull out of the way or to counter the low kick or to shoot a takedown. So again, sparring drills are the key to success for competition. And then you're just layering that up to, okay, 50% sparring, nice and light, hands only. When you make contact, don't squeeze your hand. Have your hand open, nice and light. Like what Henry Gracie said before is keep it playful. We're here to get better, not to see who's better. So making sure people have that in their mind. But again, there are some days where you have to go hard because you have to have that feeling that this guy is trying to knock me out right now. Like that changes the perspective. Like I better have my technique clean and be able to move or clinch up and not get hit with his overhand and so on, because he's trying to launch the overhand. So that is needed for the composure and the nerves aspect as well. You have to compete and have your human spirit, not let someone else put their will on you. You have to use your will you have to impose your will on them. And that goes back to Masayama wanting to step away from Shotokan and do Kyokushin and have the live competition aspect, because when it comes real and it becomes live, that changes things from the adrenaline dump into the composure and your breathing and the setups and so on, whether it be in the cage or a ring or an open mat like a Kyokushin karate and so on. So again, a little bit of a tangent, but there are layers to it. It's not just hit Thai pads, shadow boxing, hitting heavy bag, and then sparring full bore. Sparring should be to get better, to develop your timing, your distance, your accuracy, and your understanding of oneself and obviously your opponent.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, that's one of the things I've always enjoyed about the Dutch style drills is the tactile. So you get that feeling of distancing with the visuals rather than pad work, and also you don't need to go full power. You can introduce creativity into the sparring drills a lot easier than you can sometimes into freestyle, well, into normal sparring or into pad work. So yeah, no, I agree completely. I really enjoy that aspect of training. So obviously, you've been successful as a coach and as a gym owner. So what do you think are the important? So obviously, they're two different roles, aren't they? Because just because you're a good coach doesn't mean you're a good gym owner. Just because you're a good gym owner doesn't mean you're a good coach. So
yeah.
What do you think then are the important things about being a coach then? If someone listening to this was like, okay, I want Duane's advice on how to be the best coach that I can be, do you have any kind of like bullet points that you go, okay, I want you to think about these 4 or 5 things and these will improve your ability to be a good coach?
Lead by example. Show up on time. Hopefully have a good clean technique, be able to articulate the chaos of a fight and break it down for someone to understand it at the base level, and then again build them up. But the same reasons why I was I don't want to be too boastful, but a successful martial artist as far as understanding martial arts and be able to perform it. I feel I was, in my competition days, I was one of the more technically sound individuals competing in K1 and UFC and Strikeforce and so on. But the reason I became technically proficient was because I was disciplined, dedicated, and just over and over and did it quality reps, which goes back which brings me to the thought of the book, The Talent Code, which talks about deep practice and the mental state of where you should be when you're actually training. So that's a good book for a coach to read or to listen to on Audible, is The Talent Code. I learned a lot of great lessons from the actual Bible itself. Like, come to find out, there's a lot of today's terms and messages that are out there that are from the Bible, but the Bible doesn't get the credit that it should. Have you heard the term, the writing is on the wall? Mm-hmm. That's from the Bible, Daniel 5. Everyone knows you get out what you put in, to do unto others as you want done unto you. The golden rule, that's from Jesus, right? So there's a lot of quotes in the Bible that'll help someone, as long as you can learn to decipher the Bible, because the Bible is a bit tricky for me to read. But Bible I love. It's got great information out of that to be of service to people, to realize I'm not there to show them how cool I am, but help them become a better version of themselves, to be of service. And how can I be of service if I'm, getting drunk at night and staying up late and coming into class hungover or smelling like cigarettes, or I didn't pay the light bill and all the lights are off in the dojo. No, I didn't have my stuff together to provide a safe haven for people to come and learn martial arts, right? So again, that helps when you lead by example and you're there early with the game plan ready and the clean dojo to help share martial arts and be a good representation of martial arts. And like, oh, this guy's taking it serious and he's all about this, because they're gonna feel your enthusiasm the way you lead the class. And okay, here guys, here's the hook low kick, here's jab cross. Like, no, get your shit together. Like, no, let's go. It's serious. I'm trying to become the best version of myself. And should you throw a jab wide and hands out? Maybe if you hit and don't get hit, that counts. But here's been a proven more technical way to do it, nice, clean, and tight, and without telegraphing, and then not being there for the counter. So being able to, again, get some of my courses, get some of your courses, and study and get a good understanding of it. And one of the main things is to, again, meet the student at their level and build them up. But you can't build them up unless you have a database of understanding and knowledge. So become a student, become passionate, become addicted to becoming better and the best version again of yourself and understanding martial arts so that you can teach it and share it. And as a fighter, you need to be selfish through a few years of your career, many years of your career, and focus on yourself to actually obtain that knowledge and gather it. And then there's a point in life where you're gonna have to start sharing that. And that goes back to my system, or our system, is with ranking. A lot of people say you shouldn't have ranking, but there's levels in life. Like there's the hook low kick, like that's basic. That's where you can start somebody off at and then build them up from there and work on different entries for that hook low kick and so on. So it gives me my job to layer up someone's journey as a martial artist of what they should be learning at what area and what stage. So it's being, studying things and breaking it down the base layer to, again, meet them at their level. So I'm going to give you some books for the audience can actually, maybe if they choose to go this path, they can. Again, the King James Version of the Bible has helped me a lot. The Richest Man in Babylon is a great book, which requires discipline of oneself. Miyamoto Musashi's Book of Five Rings. The Four Agreements was a great book. Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. So those 5 books there have really helped me over the years, and hopefully they can help the audience as well.
Well, I'll make sure I list those in the links. And I've definitely read at least 2 of those books. I've not read the Bible all the way through, but I've read 2 of those books. So, how does that, because again, you're a successful gym owner, and let's be honest, there's a lot of gym owners who struggle. And maybe they were good coaches, but not good. They're not transitioned from being a good fighter or a good coach to being a successful gym owner. What skills then do you think are needed, or what do you think someone needs to work on to be, to be able to emulate your success of being, a successful gym owner in combat sports?
Again, I guess being disciplined and being accountable and leading by example. There's a lot of this information is in my affiliate program. I don't teach people just how to punch and kick, but why and how, and to create structure and etiquette in the school and the dojo. And your school, do you have a student creed of things that the students say?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one actually, because I inherited one from my coach, so I didn't make one myself, but who I was taught by had one. So and that's the other thing is, just like you, I kind of am a big thing about paying homage and lineage to who coached me.
Yes.
So the name of my gym is the name of the gym that I trained at. So I
Beautiful.
kind of carried that on, and
Yeah.
that gym is no longer there, but I carry that name on through
Beautiful.
through the own coaching.
Yeah, beautiful. But do you have a creed for the school that the
Yeah,
students recite?
we have a creed that mainly, do you know, I'll be honest, mainly the younger ones. I think the
Yep.
adult stuff, I think it's there to be seen, but I think it's the younger ones that are a bit more active on it.
Do they recite it before class or after class?
Not every class, more like gradings and stuff like that. So which, belt exams, which I'm sure is the same. You'll probably do something similar,
Yeah.
at your school.
Yeah, just all like. Oh, sorry.
So I was just going to say, do you have a student creed that they say before each class?
I have one that I got from Ernie Reyes. Is I intend to develop myself mentally, spiritually, and physically in a positive manner with good character. I intend to develop self-discipline to bring out the best in myself and in others. I will avoid anything that will hinder my mental growth or physical well-being. I'm on the pursuit of mastery. Oof. So that's, like, there's, I haven't found anyone that would listen to that and say, well, that's silly. Or, everyone's like, you know what? Those are all true. Like, can you debate any of those aspects. Like you're here to become a better version of yourself, because that's what we're here to do, is become a better version, then pay it forward for the younger generation and so on. So, for why, I'm not sure why we do this, why we strive to perpetuate the species and hopefully have everlasting life in heaven when we're done. It just feels natural and what we should be doing, help giving people direction in life, and again, goals, because that'll help keep people in line. And especially, like, my brain jumps all over with things, which helps good in the fighting, because I have one plan and then something else changes because the guy's game plan changed, or he do something from left field. So you got to be able to adjust on the fly. So I think my scattered brain helps with the actual competition, but in competition time, I just go like I hone in. You come in that flow state. So having these things, these student creeds and so on, has helped keep me in line, and that's part of my, I guess, success. I'm just following the same patterns I learned from karate, and the skills I've learned from competing and having to make weight and realizing I can't eat that pizza. I need to go run, or I need to eat a bit healthier, showing that there's something bigger than myself that I'm a part of. And it's to, again, lead by example.
No, well, it's an interesting one, isn't it? There's the kind of the traits of martial arts and the things that you do can easily be seen as, like in business or in other areas of life, and you can use those lessons across everywhere, can't you? Like you've just mentioned there, it's the hard work ethic. When's that going to not be needed? The characteristics that you develop from training martial arts, they're not going to be out of place, in any walk of life. So no, I agree completely. So what's, finally then, because obviously I know how busy you are, and I'm keeping you out
No,
of
all
your busy
good.
day. What's the future hold for you then? What? Because obviously you've achieved so much, and I guess you've got to ask yourself, are there any other goals in martial arts, or is there something else outside of martial arts? What are your goals? What's the future look like for you now?
My goals are to, again, keep sharing martial arts, and then to break down the business aspects so other martial enthusiasts can make a living teaching and sharing and impacting lives in a positive manner, again, through martial arts. So dissecting the layers of the business aspect so people can follow that path as well, to have doors open and the lights on in a clean school for people to show up and learn and grow and, again, become a better version of themselves. So it's just like I broke down, not all of it obviously, and is continuing to evolve. Martial arts, I need to do that, which I am doing that on the business sense as well, as to be, again, of service and to realize that we're here to help people become better. So that there. And I know a lot of school owners, I shouldn't say a lot, I know a few school owners that have a school and still work a regular job, not because they want to, but because they have to, because maybe they don't have the business figured out as well as maybe they would like to. So that's where I'm going to help. And I've had plenty of business coaches help me over the years as well. But a lot of the qualities I got to be successful in whatever endeavor I may be in, it was, again, and learned originally from the martial art mat itself and the dojo, to be, again, disciplined and realize that there's something bigger than myself that we're a part of, and I need to play my part to make this world a better place. And again, my vehicle that God gifted me with is the understanding of martial arts and to be able to break it down. But in short, keep sharing martial arts and help people keep the doors open so that they can do that. Not have a fight gym with 20 tough fighters and struggling to pay rent. I'm gonna have layers of martial arts broken down to meet, again, the student at their level. Because maybe if someone doesn't want to have do-death drills and catch a punch or catch a leg kick or block a kick, we'll put them on the bag. They still deserve the right to be in a school that's safe and effective in a positive environment that's productive. And whether it's them hitting the bag and not receiving injury to getting kicked or hit in the missed spot because that person may have went too hard or didn't have great accuracy or control of his body, and you put them in the pad class or the bag class, and you got to take care of people. So that's, again, to be of service is my main goal, to make this world a better place and create generational information for my family and my students. And my students are my family.
So for anyone watching this, or even listening to this, if they listen to it as a podcast at a later date, where can they go to learn more? Because I know you've got a ton of amazing courses, haven't you? I mean, like you said, that's one of your gifts as well, is being able to kind of translate what you do for other people. So how can people learn more about your courses and the things that you've spoken about today?
bangmuaythai.com, our website for the online courses, which I learned a lot, which I haven't given credit to, was Rob Kamen. his instructional series that he filmed at Majero Gym years ago. That was, I think, through Panther Products back then.
Mm-hmm.
He opened up my eyes a lot as far as like line drills and how to structure things. His instructionals were gold and still gold. Like that's those stuff are forever green. Like that stuff is. If anyone wants to get good instructional series, Rob Kamen's were awesome. Have you trained Rob Kamen before?
I've spoken to Rob, but we've never trained together.
Mm-hmm.
But I do know his instructionals. They're very, very good. Yeah, I remember that.
Yes.
That back in the day, I remember when they came out. And again, these are the trailblazers, aren't they, Rob and a few of the others in that series. But yeah, I love Rob's instructionals.
First, I copied a lot of his stuff too, as far as like, again, the line drills and structure and understanding. So I got to give him some credit, and that brings me to the point as far as martial artists and fighters. And I felt, I've met Rob a couple of times. I had him do a seminar at my school, and found a different perspective of his perception of what martial arts may be. I feel he's more of a fighter, and not so much as much of a martial artist side. The way he presented himself at the seminar with my students wasn't the best light of a martial artist. That's when I realized, like, okay, yeah, there are different layers to martial artists. There's people that are here to help people become better, and there's people that are here just to fight and not necessarily translate it over to help people become a better version of themselves. And that's what I learned too. When I went to the Alpha Male team, those guys were all wrestlers, and they were there. They wanted to fight and compete, and I gave them a bit more, I guess, accountability. Just asked more of them, and but they had no understanding of martial art history or lineage at all. They were just there to fight and compete. And I was like, wow, you guys don't know. Well, some of them knew Boss Rutan and Ramon Deckers and Rob Kamen and Ernesto Hoost and Ivan Hippolyte and Toshio Fujiwara and stuff. And some of them knew of these people, but some of them had no idea. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, you fight in the UFC and you don't know who Boss Rutan is? Like, that's crazy to me. So like, I was just blown away. I just realized, like, wow, there are different layers to this. There's people who compete and I have no idea about like the martial arts side of things. So I'm here to share that with the world. So it was a great time, great opportunity. But just want to touch base on that as far as, again, labeling and tagging what a martial artist is to hopefully perpetuate the past into the future, which again goes back to the term sensei, from those who've come before you, again, paying the positive lessons forward. But that's what I'm here to do. I appreciate the podcast and this light to share hopefully a good message with the world.
No, it's been amazing to finally get to speak to you in person. I've really enjoyed it, and I'm going to put all the links to everything that you've mentioned about in whatever this format is. People listen, watch it, so they can kind of so they can find what you've been talking about today. I'll even list those books as well.
Awesome.
But yeah, no, it's been amazing. But thank you so much, Duane. It's been an absolute pleasure, and like I said, I've been a great admirer of your work for a long time. So it's been great to hear some of your thoughts behind that as well. So it's been completely educational for me, and I'm gonna look more at that Japanese history now as well with my terminology, because I definitely didn't. I kind of knew up to the bit where they went to Holland, but I definitely weren't. I didn't know much about that before, so I will definitely be looking.
Here's some names: Kenji Kurosaka, Toshio Fujiwara. Do you know Toshio Fujiwara? You should know of him, huh?
I've heard the names. I've not looked into them that much, but I do know the names.
He was one of the main students of Toshio Fujiwara. Toshio Fujiwara was under Kenji Kurosaka. Kenji Kurosaka was under Masuyama. So Masuyama had Kenji Kurosaka. He's the one that opened up the original Majero gym in Tokyo, in Japan, was Kenji Kurosaka. And then he renamed it Kurosaka Dojo. And John Plaza took the Majero name and brought that to Holland. So there's some more layers to investigate.
Yeah,
if you choose to do so.
I love Japan. I can't wait to get back. So I'll hopefully if those places are still there, I'll go and check them out when I'm back over that way.
I don't know if Kurosaka Dojo is still there or not.
I don't know.
Sure.
Last time I was there, I went to a few gyms in Tokyo, but I was kind of dotting all over Japan, so I kind of didn't go to too many. But but you know what it is in Japan. There's so many, isn't there? And there's lots of small gyms, and they're not
Yeah,
like the American gyms and Canadian gyms. They're small gyms that are off the social media grid, and
yeah, yeah.
you have to kind of find them a little bit, and then find a way to
Yes.
allow them to. I'll find a way to get in there, because sometimes some of them are a little bit
Yeah,
difficult to get into. But yeah, that's another story. But yeah, no, thank you once again, Duane. Anyone listening, go and check out Bang Muay Thai. Go and check out everything that Duane said today. I hope you enjoyed it. Enjoy the rest of your day, Duane.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it. Have a good day. We'll